हेलो एवरीवन, कैसे हो आप सब? आई होप अच्छे होंगे. लेट्स मूव फॉरवर्ड विथ एनारोबिक रेस्पिरेशन. उसके पहले लेट्स रिवाइज रेस्पिरेशन एंड इट्स टाइप.
Let us understand respiration and its types. Respiration is a chemical process that supplies the body with energy to perform life processes. It happens in all living cells, not just animal cells, but also plant cells. There are two types of respiration: aerobic and anaerobic. Aerobic means with air, and so it needs oxygen, whereas anaerobic respiration doesn't need oxygen. Let's start by looking at aerobic respiration. Aerobic respiration releases energy inside the cell by breaking down glucose in the presence of oxygen. It is represented by this equation. The glucose from the digested food is broken down into carbon dioxide and water along with the release of energy. But sometimes animals and plants cannot get enough of oxygen to respire aerobically, such as while doing exercise, but they still need to respire to survive. After all, everything relies on respiration for energy. Luckily, there is a backup plan: anaerobic respiration. In the word anaerobic, an means without, aero means air, and bios means life. Let us understand anaerobic respiration. Let us use cheetah as an example. When a cheetah runs to catch its prey, it cannot take in enough air and circulate enough blood around the body for performing aerobic respiration. The heart and lungs can't keep up. So, anaerobic respiration is carried out instead. It is represented by this equation. See how it differs from aerobic respiration. There is no oxygen involved in anaerobic respiration. Also, less energy is released. This is because the glucose is only partially broken down, so it is less efficient than aerobic respiration. The glucose is broken down into lactic acid and energy. Have you ever ran a lot and had a muscle cramp? This is caused by lactic acid accumulation. You can only get rid of lactic acid by taking in oxygen. Oxygen is needed to break down lactic acid into carbon dioxide and water. Now you know why we breathe deeply after an intense exercise. So that is how anaerobic respiration works in animals. What about plants? The oxygen supply can run out for plants too, such as those that live in waterlogged soil. This forces the plant to carry out anaerobic respiration. This is the chemical equation for respiration in plants. Notice that instead of lactic acid, ethanol and carbon dioxide are produced. In yeast, this process is called fermentation, and it is used to bake bread and brew alcohol. Ethanol is the alcohol found in beer and wine, and in bread making, it is the carbon dioxide that is useful. The bubbles of carbon dioxide help raise the bread by expanding the dough.
So we did a recap on anaerobic and aerobic respiration, which we saw in the last class. Now let's continue. Now let's see practice question 12. Practice question 12.1. Which type of respiration is observed in the following situation? Child walking in the park. He is normally walking, so there is an aerobic respiration. Cheetah is catching the prey. That means it is doing the exercise, so it is anaerobic respiration. Man weightlifting, that is also an exercise, anaerobic respiration. Calf eating and grass, normally without any exercise, aerobic respiration. and bacteria in vacuum, that is anaerobic respiration. 12.3, why do muscles switch from aerobic respiration to anaerobic? When we exercise, our muscles switch from aerobic respiration to anaerobic. This is because our muscles require more energy than usual. Humans require oxygen to prepare aerobic respiration. However, during exercise, the supply of oxygen is not enough to meet the need of cell. So cells are affected which switch to perform anaerobic respiration for the shorter time. That means जब भी हम एक्सरसाइज कर रहे हैं तब एरोबिक रेस्पिरेशन नहीं होगा, जो ऑक्सीजन होता है वो इनफ नहीं हो रहा है सेल्स के लिए एरोबिक रेस्पिरेशन में, सो मसल्स के अफेक्ट होके सेल्स जो होते हैं मसल्स में वो एनारोबिक रेस्पिरेशन में शिफ्ट होते हैं शॉर्ट टाइम के लिए. Fourth is Rani and Praveen are in the same science class. Rani was late in the class, so she ran, whereas Pranavi walked to the class. Rani had clamps soon after. List two difference that can be observed in the terms of respiration. जो रानी है वो दौड़ के आई है इसलिए हैवीली ब्रीथ कर रही है, जैसे प्रणवी है वो एकदम नॉर्मली ब्रीथ कर रही है, और रानी के मसल्स एनारोबिक रेस्पिरेशन फॉर्म कर रहे हैं और उसकी वजह से लैक्टिक एसिड उसके मसल सेल्स में फॉर्म होगा और प्रणवीज मसल सेल्स विल परफॉर्म एरोबिक रेस्पिरेशन. दिस इज द डिफरेंस बिटवीन देम. ये जो ऑर्गेनिजम्स है उसमें कौन सी रेस्पिरेशन प्रोसेस हो रही है, जैसे ईस्ट है उसमें एनारोबिक रेस्पिरेशन, क्योंकि कार्बन डाइऑक्साइड ईस्ट होता है वो ब्रेड को सॉफ्ट करने के लिए काम आता है, तो ईस्ट है वो एनारोबिक रेस्पिरेशन की वजह से इथेनॉल और कार्बन डाइऑक्साइड रिलीज करेगा, तो वो एनारोबिक रेस्पिरेशन है. रैबिट एरोबिक रेस्पिरेशन, वॉर्म एरोबिक, मशरूम एरोबिक, ये सब एरोबिक रेस्पिरेशन फॉर्म कर रहे हैं. Fifth question is explain two situation in which our body requires anaerobic respiration. कोई भी एक्सरसाइज के टाइम पे अगर हम दौड़ रहे हैं, स्टेयर्स चढ़ रहे हैं, फिर लिफ्ट हैवी ऑब्जेक्ट्स, कोई भी एक्सरसाइज वाली चीज़ है जिसमें हमारी बॉडी एक्सट्रीम वर्क कर रही हो, वो वहाँ पे एनारोबिक रेस्पिरेशन होगा. So here in the figure is respiratory system. Why are we breathing? My first question is what is breathing first? The process of taking in or releasing out air or oxygen is breathing, right? What is breathing? Taking in or releasing out air is breathing. What is inhalation? Inhale Inhale is to take in oxygen. What is exhale? To take out carbon dioxide. So what are the parts that are involved in the breathing? Breathing involves many parts that are such as nostrils, that is found in nasal cavity, windpipe, lungs, diaphragm. Here in the figure you can see nasal passage, that is nasal cavity, nostrils is found, lungs is there, diaphragm is used. So all these parts are used in respiration. So now let us watch a video on the process of breathing and the organs involved in it, in the process of breathing.
The respiratory system. Hello, students. Let's meet some exciting animals today. What do you think all these living organisms have in common? They are breathing, just like you and me. Now, let's observe this sleeping dog. His abdomen keeps moving up and down while he sleeps. Let's see how we breathe. Breathing is the process of taking in oxygen rich air and giving out carbon dioxide using the respiratory organs. So, how do we breathe? We take in air through our nostrils for our body's oxygen requirements. The process of taking in oxygen rich air through our nostrils is called inhalation. After the cells in our body have used up the oxygen, the carbon dioxide produced by the cells has to be released from the body. This is done through the process of exhalation, in which we breathe out carbon dioxide. A breath is one inhalation plus one exhalation. The continuous process of inhalation followed by exhalation is called breathing. Since all organisms need to respire continuously, the process of breathing also goes on continuously throughout their lifetimes. When we breathe, there are different parts of the respiratory system that are involved in the process. When we inhale, air passes through our nostrils and into the nasal cavity. From the nasal cavity, the air passes through the pharynx and reaches our lungs via the windpipe, which is also called the trachea. The lungs, which are present in the chest cavity, are protected by the ribs or rib cage. A large muscular sheet called the diaphragm forms the floor of the chest cavity. Breathing involves the movement of the diaphragm and the rib cage. Let's see how these parts work together as a system to make breathing possible. The flow of air through the system is controlled by the muscles in the rib cage and the movement of the diaphragm. During inhalation, the ribs move up and outwards while the diaphragm moves down. This movement increases the space in our chest cavity, allowing air to rush into our lungs. During exhalation, the ribs move down and inwards while the diaphragm moves up to its previous position. This reduces the size of the chest cavity, pushing the air out of our lungs. This is how we breathe. Now, do you see why the dog's abdomen was constantly moving up and down? Creatures that are underwater also breathe and have adaptations that help them do that. Why don't you find out how these fascinating animals breathe?
Based on the video, practice question number 13, उसमें 13.3 there is a paragraph we have to fill in the correct words. So during the inhalation, your diaphragm moves downwards and ribcage moves upward and outward. Inhalation में to required space to increase the space of chest cavity that moves, diaphragm would move downwards and ribcage will move upward and outward, and that will increase the space in the chest cavity. During exhalation, the diaphragm moves to its original position and ribcage moves down and inward, and that will decrease the space of the chest cavity and that will remove carbon dioxide from the body. 13.1 Kurthi breathes 18 times. How many inhalations and exhalations occur in the 18th breath? Breath means taking in and taking out. That is 18 times. So 9 times inhalation, 9 times exhalation. That is taking in and taking out 18 times. 13.2 Which of these components of air is higher in concentration when we inhale compared to when we exhale? जब inhale करते हैं तो what we inhale, which component is higher in air? Oxygen is higher because we inhale oxygen. By this, now we are at the end of our today's lecture. In today's class, we revised the aerobic and anaerobic respiration. Based on that, we saw practice question number 12. with 5 questions, and then we learned about breathing concept time number 17, how we breathe, and based on that we did practice question number 13 with 13.1, 2 and 3. In tomorrow's class, we will see concept time number 18, which is respiration and breathing, and then we will continue forward. So you have to write practice question number 12 and 13 and then send it to me as your homework. I'm not sending you the PDF. Pause the video, write the answers, and then send it to me. Tomorrow is your test. I'm sending the syllabus in the group. And best of luck for your exams and complete the homework. Thank you all and have a nice day.